You ever notice how things used to feel lighter? Not easier, not better in some obvious measurable way, just lighter? Like back when you didn't understand how everything worked, before you knew how relationships fall apart, before you understood money, status, betrayal, expectations. Back when you could just exist inside a moment without analyzing it. I don't think we were happier because life was better. I think we were happier because we knew less. At some point, something shifts. You start paying attention not to just what's happening, but to what it means. You notice how people talk differently depending on who they're around. You realize not everyone has good intentions. You start seeing patterns, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. It's like the world quietly hands you a lens, and suddenly everything is sharper, clearer, and heavier, because now you're not just living life, you're interpreting it. And the thing is, knowledge doesn't just give you clarity, it gives you responsibility. When you understand how things work, you can't pretend you don't. You can't go back to thinking someone's silence probably means nothing. You can't ignore red flags once you've learned what they look like. You can't unlearn how temporary things are or how fragile things can be. So instead of just feeling something, you start thinking about it, breaking it down, questioning it, second guessing it, and slowly the simplicity fades. I think a lot of guys in their 20s start to feel this, but don't really have the words for it. It's like you're more aware than you've ever been, but somehow you feel less certain. You know more about how dating works, but trust feels harder. You understand money and career paths, but everything feels like a risk. You see how people move on, how they switch up, how quickly things can change. So instead of just jumping into life, you hesitate. Not because you're weak, but because you see more variables, more outcomes, more ways things could go wrong. And that's where things get complicated. Because awareness is supposed to be a good thing. We're told to wake up, to see things clearly, to understand the game. But no one really talks about the cost of that. The cost of seeing too much is that nothing feels pure anymore. You start questioning intentions. Does she actually like me? Or is this just convenient for her? Is this friendship real? Or just proximity? Do they respect me? Or just what I provide? Even when things are good, there's a part of your mind that's scanning for what's off. And once that part of your brain turns on, it doesn't turn off. It's always there, running in the background. I remember being younger and not thinking about any of this. You liked someone, you just liked them. You hung out with friends, you didn't analyze the dynamic. You chased something, you didn't think about whether it was worth it in the long term. There was no constant calculation, no internal debate, just action. And yeah, you made mistakes, a lot of them maybe. But those mistakes didn't feel as heavy because you weren't carrying this layer of awareness on top of everything. Now it's different. Now you don't just experience things, you contextualize them. You prepare them to past experiences. You measure them against expectations. You weigh them against possible outcomes. And that's exhausting. Because you're never fully in the moment. You're half in the moment, and you're half in your head. I think part of this comes from how much we're exposed to now. We see everything, every opinion, every failure, every lesson learned. You don't just live your own life anymore. You absorb everyone else's too. You watch relationships fall apart online. You hear stories about betrayal, manipulation, disappointment. You see highlight reels and worst case scenarios back to back. So even before something happens to you, you already have a framework for how it might go wrong. And that creates this quiet tension. Because on one hand, you want to stay open, you want to trust, you want to enjoy things for what they are. But on the other hand, you know better now. Or at least you think you do. So if you hold back just a little, not enough to completely shut down, but enough to never fully let go. And that's the trade-off no one really explains. You gain awareness, but you lose innocence. Sometimes I wonder if we were actually happier before, or if it just felt that way because we weren't looking as closely. Because if you go back, those times weren't perfect. You just didn't dissect them. You didn't zoom in on every flaw. You didn't question every interaction. You let things be what they were. And maybe that's what we were missing. Not ignorance, but space. Space between experience and analysis. Because right now, there is no space. Everything gets processed immediately. Felt, analyzed, categorized. And when you live like that long enough, you start to feel disconnected from your own life. Like you're serving it more than you're living it. Now, I don't think the answer is to go back. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee patterns. You can't force yourself to be naive again. And honestly, you shouldn't. Awareness does protect you. It sharpens you. It helps you move smarter in a world that isn't always kind. But maybe the real challenge is learning how to carry that awareness without letting it drain the life out of everything. Learning when to think, learning when to just be, learning when to question, and when to trust your experience without overanalyzing it. Because maybe we weren't happier just because we knew less. Maybe we were happier because we allowed ourselves to feel more without needing to understand everything. And maybe that's still possible, not by forgetting what you've learned, but by choosing, every once in a while, to stop trying to figure everything out and to just live in it before it all passes.